Cain and Abel, the world's very first murder mystery, except there wasn't much mystery. Cain did it. Two brothers, two sacrifices. Abel brought his best, while Cain brought the bare minimum. God liked Abel's offering better, and Cain didn't take the L well. So he invited his brother to the field and, well, let's just say that was the last family picnic. The shocking part? Killing your brother wasn't just a crime. It was cosmic-level forbidden. Blood wasn't supposed to touch the earth yet. When it did, even the ground cried out, God didn't kill Cain. He marked him, made him live with it. The first murderer became the first cursed man. And that's how envy turned into humanity's first sin with a body count. Romulus and Remus. Now, jump forward. Twin brothers again, but this time, they're raised by a wolf. Romulus and Remus, future founders of Rome. Until pride entered the chat. They couldn't agree where to build their city. Remus mocked Romulus's new wall by jumping over it, which apparently is ancient speak for fight me. Romulus didn't hesitate. One fatal strike later, Remus was gone, and Rome had its founder. The problem? That great empire was born from blood, a brother's blood. From the start, Rome carried that stain, greatness built on guilt. Even the city's myths whispered it. Power demands a price, a sword before a crown. Osiris and Set. In ancient Egypt, gods had drama that could fill entire soap operas. Osiris, kind, wise, and basically everyone's favorite ruler. His brother Set? Not a fan. Set wanted the throne, so he pulled the most dramatic murder plot ever. He tricked Osiris into climbing into a jeweled coffin, slammed it shut, and tossed it in the Nile. Smooth. But killing Osiris didn't just break family ties, it broke the balance of the universe. You weren't supposed to kill a god, especially that god. Isis, Osiris's wife, literally rebuilt him, piece by piece, turning him into the god of the afterlife. Meanwhile, Set became the god of chaos. And from then on, Egypt learned, mess with order, and you end up dethroned. Forever. Baldur's death. Baldur, the golden boy of Asgard. Literally, everyone loved him. He was so pure that nothing in the world could hurt him. Why? His mom, Frigg, made every object promise not to harm her son. Metal, fire, stone, all sworn in, except one tiny thing, mistletoe. Because who's scared of a plant used for kissing? Loki, that's who. He turned mistletoe into a dart and tricked Baldur's blind brother into throwing it. One shot, one fall, one god gone. The moment Baldur hit the ground, even the gods went silent. It wasn't just a death. It was the beginning of Ragnarok, the end of everything. The happiest god became the world's saddest prophecy. Tantalus and Pelops. Now from divine tragedy to the worst dinner party in mythology. Meet Tantalus. He thought it'd be funny to prank the gods by feeding them. His own son, Pelops. Yep. Cooked, plated, and served. The gods didn't laugh. They resurrected Pelops, replaced his missing shoulder with ivory, and tossed Tantalus into eternal punishment. Food and water forever out of reach. That's where tantalizing comes from. But the family curse didn't stop there. Pelops went on to start the House of Atreus, the most dysfunctional dynasty in Greek history. You'd think a guy who got eaten once would learn to keep things simple at family dinners. But no, his descendants made sure the curse kept cooking. Now let's follow that blood trail, straight to one of those descendants who turned victory into vengeance. Agamemnon's murder. Agamemnon, hero of the Trojan War, husband of Clytemnestra, and the guy who thought sacrificing his daughter was just strategy. When he finally came home from Troy, his wife welcomed him with smiles, baths, and revenge simmering like stew. She waited till he stepped into the tub, trapped him in a net, and stabbed him where he stood. One of the world's first murder scenes, and one of the coldest. Some called it justice, others called it madness. Either way, the curse of his family lived on. Because in Greek myth, blood doesn't wash off, it echoes. And speaking of echoing bloodlines, the next murder came from a man who couldn't escape fate, even if he tried. Atreus and Thyestes. The House of Atreus wasn't a family, it was a full-time disaster. Two brothers, Atreus and Thyestes, fighting over a throne and a woman. When Thyestes betrayed him, Atreus decided revenge should be served hot. He invited his brother to a feast, all smiles, all forgiveness, until Thyestes learned he'd just eaten his own sons. That's not dinner, that's psychological warfare with utensils. The gods were horrified, the curse deepened, and the family tree grew more blood than leaves. This single meal sparked generations of tragedy, from Agamemnon's murder to Orestes' madness. In Greek myth, you can cheat, lie, and steal, but once you serve family for dinner, you're done for. Oedipus. Now, let's talk about the guy who unknowingly set the world record for worst luck, Oedipus. His parents heard a prophecy that their son would kill his father and marry his mother. Terrified, they abandoned baby Oedipus. Years later, grown-up Oedipus ran into an older man on the road, got into an argument, and killed him. Plot twist. That was his real dad. He later married the widowed queen, who was actually his mom. And the moment he found out, everything collapsed. She took her life. He blinded himself. Oedipus didn't mean to commit a forbidden murder. Fate simply made sure he did. Sometimes destiny doesn't need villains, just bad timing. And speaking of fate, one young warrior met his destiny surrounded by enemies, not gods. Abhimanyu's death. In the Mahabharata, Abhimanyu was the teen hero everyone admired, brave, sharp, and born for battle. He knew how to break into the enemy's invincible war formation, the Chakravyuh, but not how to escape it. During the Kurukshetra War, he charged in alone, slicing through warriors like lightning until the rulebook went out the window. 7 mighty warriors surrounded him, all at once, breaking every code of honor. He fought till his last breath, outnumbered and betrayed by those who feared his skill. His death wasn't just tragic, it was taboo. Killing a child of the royal bloodline that way cursed the warriors forever. In war or peace, dishonor never fades. Uriah's murder. King David, the man who defeated giants, met one he couldn't fight. Temptation. When he saw Bathsheba bathing, reason left the building. She was married to Uriah, one of his most loyal soldiers. But instead of stepping back, David stepped way too far. He sent Uriah to the front lines, the kind of mission no one returns from. Technically, David didn't swing a sword, but he might as well have. When the prophet Nathan called him out, David realized his crown couldn't hide his crime. His punishment? His own house would be torn apart by betrayal and death. Even the chosen king learned, power doesn't erase guilt, it just hides it better. Julius Caesar, the man who conquered Gaul, crossed the Rubicon, and then got conquered by friendship. The Senate feared he was becoming too powerful, so they decided to save Rome by stabbing it 23 times. The twist? His closest ally, Brutus, joined in. Caesar's final words, "Et tu, Brute?" weren't just about pain, they were about heartbreak. That's betrayal in its purest form. Ironically, the conspirators said they killed him for freedom, but their knife party ended the Republic for good. Caesar's death didn't stop power, it just changed its shape. And if you think that's tragic, wait till you meet a man who heard a prophecy, killed a king, and lost his soul trying to wear the crown. Macbeth. Macbeth was a brave soldier, until 3 witches told him he'd be king. That tiny spark of ambition lit a full-on wildfire. There was only one problem. King Duncan was still alive. One dark night, Macbeth snuck into his chamber and did the unthinkable. He murdered his guest, his king, his moral compass, all in one strike. But instead of glory, he got ghosts, paranoia, and a wife slowly losing her mind. "A little water clears us of this deed," Lady Macbeth said, but that stain never came out. From then on, Macbeth ruled Scotland with fear, not honor. Turns out, destiny might whisper in your ear, but it never cleans up your mess. The Red Wedding. Ah yes, the Red Wedding. The dinner that made everyone hate violins forever. Robb Stark showed up to make peace, break bread, and maybe fix an old insult. But when the doors closed and the music started, guessed right. The sacred rule of hospitality was thrown straight out the window. The phrase offered food, salt, and smiles, then pulled out crossbows. Killing guests under your roof wasn't just cruel, it was a crime against the gods themselves. The message was clear. In Westeros, not even honor survives politics. The scene wasn't just shocking, it was a masterclass in betrayal so deep, it silenced an entire fandom. And speaking of holy places turned bloody, let's head to England, 1170. Thomas Becket, Archbishop, reformer, and the world's most unfortunate target of royal frustration. When King Henry II muttered, "Will no one rid me of this troublesome priest?" 4 knights took it as a to-do list. They found Becket praying in Canterbury Cathedral and cut him down where he stood. Murder in a church. That's breaking divine rules and social rules in one swing. The shock was so massive that Becket became a saint, and Henry had to do public penance, barefoot, begging forgiveness. Power and faith had collided, and faith won. It's a brutal reminder. When sacred space turns into a crime scene, history never forgets. Now, if killing a priest was bad, imagine killing something considered holy just by existing. Cow slaughter. In India, the cow isn't just a farm animal, it's sacred, a living symbol of life and nourishment. Harming one isn't just a crime, it's cosmic-level bad karma. Ancient texts called cow-killing gohatya, one of the greatest sins. The act could supposedly curse your entire bloodline. And this idea isn't alone. Ancient Egypt once worshipped cats, and killing one could get you executed. Same with dogs in Persia, sacred protectors of the soul. These taboos weren't about animals, really. They were about order, respect, and balance. Break them, and you weren't just offending people, you were offending gods. Because in many cultures, taking innocent life isn't just murder, it's breaking the universe's moral code. Regicide of Charles I. Imagine executing your own king, and doing it legally. In 1649, England did just that. King Charles I was dragged to trial, accused of treason against his own people. He stood calm, regal, and probably thinking, this isn't how monarchy is supposed to work. When the axe fell, it didn't just take a head, it split the entire country. For the first time, divine right lost to public will. But here's the kicker. Killing a king was so taboo that even the executioner wore a mask to hide his identity. Within a decade, monarchy returned anyway, like a bad habit England couldn't quit. Turns out, you can dethrone a man, but not the idea of kingship. The murder of Atahualpa. Atahualpa, the last Inca emperor, met the Spanish not with armies, but curiosity. Francisco Pizarro came bearing crosses and cannons, pretending peace, but planning conquest. After capturing Atahualpa, they promised freedom for gold, and he delivered a room filled with it. But the Spanish killed him anyway, strangling a god king in cold blood. It wasn't just murder, it was spiritual vandalism. In Inca belief, Atahualpa was divine. Killing him tore the link between heaven and earth. The moment he died, an empire collapsed, and the Andes went silent. The invaders gained gold, but lost something priceless: the respect of every culture that believes in sacred rulers. And speaking of sacred rules broken, Zeus once got a meal he never ordered. Lycaon and the guesthouse crime. When Zeus visits your home in disguise, rule number 1, don't feed him human stew. Lycaon, king of Arcadia, decided to test if his guest was truly a god by serving him his own son for dinner. Bold move. Zeus didn't need dessert, just rage. He flipped the table, burned the palace, and turned Lycaon into a wolf. The message was clear: hospitality is sacred, and crossing it makes you less than human, literally. This myth warned Greeks that even kings answer to moral law. You can break bread with gods, but break trust, and you'll lose more than your throne. From palaces to wolf dens, the price of disrespect stayed the same: divine wrath served hot. Absalom and Amnon. King David's family could have given any soap opera a run for its money. When Amnon, David's eldest son, committed a terrible act against his half-sister Tamar, everyone expected justice. But David stayed silent. And Absalom, Tamar's brother, didn't forget. 2 years later, he threw a feast, invited Amnon, poured the wine, and gave the order. Amnon was struck down mid-party. It wasn't justice, it was vengeance served cold. That one act cracked David's kingdom in half, turning son against father, brother against brother. Absalom thought he was fixing what his father wouldn't, but ended up burning down everything instead. Because when revenge sits at the dinner table, no family leaves whole. Mordred and Arthur. The fall of Camelot didn't come from an enemy army, it came from within. Mordred, King Arthur's own blood, wanted the throne for himself. Legends differ, some say nephew, others say son. But either way, this was treason with a family discount. When Arthur left for war, Mordred seized the crown. Their final clash at Camlan was brutal. Arthur impaled Mordred, but not before taking a fatal blow himself. 2 blades, 1 tragedy. The betrayal didn't just kill 2 men, it ended an entire golden age. The Round Table shattered, the dream of Camelot died, and Arthur drifted off to Avalon. If killing your father breaks a home, killing your king breaks a world. John the Baptist. John the Baptist, fearless, blunt, and apparently too honest for King Herod's court. He called out Herod for his immoral marriage, and that truth hit a nerve. During a royal banquet, Herod's stepdaughter danced and asked for one thing: John's head on a platter. Herod didn't want to do it, but pride is louder than conscience. John was executed, turning a feast into a moral disaster. In the Bible, killing prophets isn't just a sin, it's inviting divine payback. Every culture agrees, silencing a voice of truth never ends well. John's death wasn't just about one man. It showed how power fears honesty. Because when rulers start killing prophets, you know justice just left the room. Sigurd, or Siegfried if you're reading the German version, was the ultimate dragon slayer. He bathed in dragon blood, gained near invincibility, and had the confidence of someone who definitely read his own fanfiction. But legends hate happy endings. After helping his friend Gunnar win a bride through trickery, Sigurd became the problem. He knew too much. Jealousy, lies, and ambition brewed like a cursed potion, and before long, Gunnar's men stabbed Sigurd in his sleep. The hero who conquered dragons was undone by dinner table politics. His blood didn't just stain the floor, it cursed generations to come. Because in mythology, betrayal never stops at one death. It echoes through every kingdom that forgets loyalty. Medea's slaughters. You think your breakup was bad? Medea's breakup started a myth. Jason, the golden boy with the golden fleece, ditched her for a younger princess. Big mistake. Instead of crying into a pillow, Medea mailed the princess a wedding gift. That caught her on fire. Then she burned the palace. Then, just to make sure Jason never slept again, she killed their own children. It wasn't rage, it was cold, perfect revenge. Every god and mortal knew she crossed the line. Motherhood itself turned into a weapon. When it was done, Medea rode off in a chariot pulled by dragons. No tears, no mercy. La Llorona, by the river, when the night goes quiet, you might hear her cry, "Ay, mis hijos." La Llorona, the weeping woman. Once, she was human, a mother. But when her lover betrayed her, grief twisted into madness. She drowned her children, and then herself. The gods didn't forgive. Now she roams the waters forever, searching for the children she'll never find. People say if you hear her wail, you run, or you'll be her next lost child. It's a story parents whisper to scare kids, but behind the ghost is something darker. What happens when love turns to ruin? Honor killing. Now this one's no legend. It's real, and it's ugly. In some places, families kill their own to protect their name. Usually a daughter, a sister, someone who dared to love freely. They call it honor. But it's fear pretending to be pride. The cruelest part? It's not a curse from gods, it's a choice. One that turns a home into a crime scene. Every culture that's outgrown this has had to face one truth. Honor isn't about blood, it's about protecting it. Because no tradition is sacred enough to justify murder. From brothers and kings to prophets and heroes, every forbidden murder rewrites the rules of what it means to be human. If you enjoyed this, stick around for the next one. And hey, subscribing wouldn't hurt.